You must show proof of insurance to law enforcement. A. Only if you are involved in a collision. B. If you are involved in a collision or stopped for a citation. C. Only if you are stopped and cited. B. If you are involved in a collision or stopped for a citation. You must have evidence of financial responsibility, such as proof of insurance, with you whenever you drive. You must always show proof of insurance and your license to an officer upon request after a traffic stop or collision. This sign indicates that A. There is a steep hill ahead. B. No trucks are allowed on an upcoming hill. C. A logging road is ahead. D. There are trucks on an upcoming hill. A. There is a steep hill ahead. This sign warns that there is a steep hill or downgrade ahead. When driving in fog, you should use your A. Low beam headlights. B. High beam headlights. C. Parking lights. D. Hazard flashers. A. Low beam headlights. If you must drive in foggy conditions, you should use your low beam headlights, as well as your fog lights, if your vehicle has them. High beams direct their light upwards, where it can bounce off the fog and into your eyes, reducing visibility even more. This sign means A. Highway changes ahead and to the right. B. Hiking trails ahead and to the right. C. Hotel ahead and to the right. D. Hospital ahead and to the right. D. Hospital ahead and to the right. This sign indicates that hospital emergency services are located to the right.
Want to ace your DMV test? Click on the link below and get your guaranteed cheat sheet.
This sign means A. Two-way traffic. B. Change in direction ahead. C. School zone and crossing. A. Two-way traffic. This sign informs drivers that they are leaving a divided roadway and approaching a two-way highway. When two vehicles enter an intersection from different highways at the same time, which vehicle must yield the right-of-way? A. Either one. B. The vehicle on the left. C. The vehicle on the right. D. Neither. B. The vehicle on the left. At intersections that are controlled by signs or signals and at intersections that are uncontrolled, the driver on the left must yield the right-of-way to the driver on the right when two vehicles arrive to the intersection at the same time. Having a driver license is a requirement. B. Privilege. C. Right. B. Privilege. It is important to remember that driving is a privilege and that all drivers play a role in ensuring that everyone remains safe on the roadways. If you prove to be abusive of that privilege, the privilege may be revoked. What does a lane use control signal displaying a green arrow indicate? A. The signal is about to change to a red X. B. Drivers should not drive in this lane. C. Drivers may use the indicated lane only to make a left turn. D. Drivers may drive normally in the indicated lane. D. Drivers may drive normally in the indicated lane. Lane use control signals are used when the direction of the flow of traffic in a specific lane changes throughout the day. They are used to show which lanes of traffic are open and closed, as well as to show if toll booths are open or closed. When a lane control signal contains a green arrow, drivers may drive normally in the indicated lane. This sign means A. Keep right. B. Low shoulder. C. No parking at any time. D. Lane ends. A. Keep right. Regulation signs regulate traffic speed and movement, displaying rules which drivers must obey. This regulation sign indicates that drivers should keep right to avoid an upcoming potential driving hazard. When approaching a person who is crossing the street while using a white cane or guide dog, you should A. Stop until the person is well away from your path of travel. B. Honk your horn as you proceed past them. C. Carefully drive around them. A. Stop until the person is well away from your path of travel. When approaching a pedestrian who is using a white cane or guide dog while crossing the street, you must stop until the person is well away from your path of travel. Always yield the right of way to blind pedestrians. The driver's left arm and hand are extended downward. This hand signal means that the driver plans to A. Turn left. B. Turn right. C. Stop. D. Start up. C. Stop. If a driver's left arm and hand are extended downward, they are indicating that they intend to stop. Adjust your driving accordingly if following a driver who is using this hand signal. This sign means A. All traffic must turn. B. Turn right at the intersection. C. Parking area ahead. D. Crossroad ahead. Watch for traffic. D. Crossroad ahead. Watch for traffic. This sign warns of the presence of a crossroad ahead. This sign means A. Merge right. B. Divided highway begins. C. Lane ends. C. Lane ends. This sign indicates that the right lane ends ahead. A merging maneuver will be required for drivers in that lane. When exiting a roundabout or traffic circle, you should A. Be in the left lane. B. Honk to alert other drivers to your intentions. C. Be in the right lane. D. Cut across traffic to reach your exit. C. Be in the right lane. If you are going to be turning from a rotary circle, you should be in the right lane. This applies unless otherwise indicated by road markings on the pavement or traffic signs specifying a different lane to be used. Failure to report an accident that caused property damage of $1,000 or more is not a criminal offense. A. True. B. False. B. False. If an accident causes property damage exceeding $1,000, the drivers involved must report it to the police or local sheriff. An accident that causes any injuries must also be reported by the drivers involved. Failure to report an accident may result in criminal charges and license suspension. Driving while being distracted by any activity. A. Is never dangerous. B. Usually causes the driver to react more slowly to hazards. C. Usually causes the driver to drive faster. D. Is only dangerous for young drivers. B. Usually causes the driver to react more slowly to hazards. Distractions cause drivers to react more slowly to traffic and hazards on the roadway. Distracted driving is never safe. At intersections, crosswalks, and railroad crossings, you should always A. Stop, listen, and proceed cautiously. B. Look to the sides of your vehicle to see what is coming. C. Slowly pass vehicles that seem to be stopped for no reason. B. Look to the sides of your vehicle to see what is coming. Anytime you come to a place where people may cross or enter your path, or where one line of traffic meets another, you should look to the left and right sides of your vehicle to make sure no one is coming. You come to an intersection displaying a flashing red light. You should A. Come to a full stop and go when it is safe to do so. B. Stop only if other cars are also approaching the intersection. C. Stop only if other cars are already within the intersection. D. Slow down and be prepared to stop, if necessary. A. Come to a full stop and go when it is safe to do so. A flashing red traffic light has the same meaning as a stop sign. You must stop, yield the right of way, and go once it is safe. If you plan to pass another vehicle, you should A. Not assume the other driver will make space for you to return to your lane. B. Assume the other driver will let you pass if you use your turn signal. C. Assume the other driver will maintain a constant speed. A. Not assume the other driver will make space for you to return to your lane. Even when you signal, you should not assume that the space you want to occupy is free or that other drivers will give you the right of way. If oncoming headlights are blinding you while you are driving at night, you should A. Look toward the right edge of the road. B. Switch your lights to high beams. C. Turn your lights on and off. A. Look toward the right edge of the road. If the headlights of an oncoming vehicle are blinding, glance toward the right edge of the road instead of looking directly ahead. This should keep your vehicle safely on the road until you pass the oncoming vehicle. On which sides of a vehicle should drivers maintain a space cushion? A. Only to the front of the vehicle. B. Only to the back of the vehicle. C. Only to the left and right of the vehicle. D. All sides of the vehicle. D. All sides of the vehicle. The only way you can be sure you will have enough time to react to the movements of other drivers is by leaving plenty of space between your car and the cars around you. In general, you should try to keep a cushion of space on all sides of your motor vehicle. A double solid yellow line down the center of a two-lane road indicates A. Lanes are moving in opposite directions and drivers are not permitted to pass. B. Lanes are moving in opposite directions and drivers are permitted to pass when it is safe to do so. C. Lanes are moving in the same direction and drivers are not permitted to pass. D. Lanes are moving in the same direction and drivers are permitted to pass when it is safe to do so. A. Lanes are moving in opposite directions and drivers are not permitted to pass. Yellow lines are used to separate traffic moving in opposite directions. Solid lines indicate that drivers are not permitted to pass. If your gas pedal becomes stuck or jammed, you should A. Shift into neutral. B. Apply the brakes. C. Pull off the road. D. All of the above. D. All of the above. If your gas pedal becomes stuck or jammed, you should shift your car into neutral, apply the brakes, and safely pull off the road. Once you've come to a stop, turn off the engine. If you cannot free the pedal so that it does not get stuck again, call for assistance and do not try to drive the car. To check your blind spot when changing lanes to the left, you should glance A. Over your right shoulder. B. At your side mirror. C. Over your left shoulder. D. At your rearview mirror. C. Over your left shoulder. To check your blind spot, glance over your shoulder in the direction that you want to move. You are driving behind a motorcycle and want to pass. You must A. Stay in the right lane as much as possible because the motorcycle is small and doesn't use all of the lane. B. Blow your horn to make the motorcycle move onto the shoulder so that you can pass. C. Have your vehicle entirely in the left lane before and during the pass. C. Have your vehicle entirely in the left lane before and during the pass. When passing a motorcycle, allow a full lane to the motorcycle. Never crowd into the same lane as the motorcycle. Returning to the original lane too soon can force a rider to swerve to the right and into traffic or off the road. You are driving on a narrow road when you meet an oncoming vehicle. You must A. Pull completely off the road and stop. B. Allow the oncoming vehicle at least one half of the main traveled portion of the road. C. Demand the other vehicle pull over to make room. D. Turn on your high beam headlights to make sure the other vehicle sees you. B. Allow the oncoming vehicle at least one half of the main traveled portion of the road. On narrow roads, you must allow vehicles traveling in the opposite direction at least one half of the main traveled portion of the road. Both vehicles must have adequate space in order for the drivers to safely pass one another. If you have the right-of-way at an intersection, you should A. Assume other drivers will follow right-of-way laws. B. Check for traffic, pedestrians, and bicyclists before moving forward. C. Immediately move through the intersection. D. Wave other drivers ahead of you. B. Check for traffic, pedestrians, and bicyclists before moving forward. After stopping at an intersection, take the extra time to check for cross-traffic, bicyclists, and pedestrians before proceeding. It is recommended that you look left, then right, then left again before entering an intersection. Yield your legal right-of-way any time it can prevent a collision. How often should you have your vehicle inspected? A. Once every 4 years. B. Once every 3 years. C. Once every 2 years. D. Once every year. D. Once every year. All motor vehicles bearing a Maine registration must be properly inspected before being operated on any public roadway. These inspections must be done at an official inspection station once a year. When you see other drivers around you acting or reacting in anger. A. Don't make eye contact. B. Don't react with hand gestures. C. Distance yourself from the situation. D. All of these. D. All of these. When other drivers are behaving angrily, you should take action to physically and mentally distance yourself from the situation. Avoid making eye contact with them, or making body movements or gestures that could provoke them. Slow down, move over, or do whatever you safely can to put yourself out of danger. A driver entering interstate traffic from an entrance or acceleration ramp. A. Should yield to drivers already on the interstate. B. Has the right of way. C. May force their way into traffic. D. Can assume that other drivers will change lanes to make room. A. Should yield to drivers already on the interstate. If you are on an entrance or acceleration ramp and are entering interstate traffic, you should yield to drivers already on the interstate highway. Merge safely into traffic when you are able to do so. The driver ahead of you stops at a crosswalk. What should you do? A. Cautiously pass the vehicle at 10 miles per hour or slower. B. Stop, proceeding only when all the pedestrians have crossed. C. Change lanes, look carefully, and pass the stopped vehicle. B. Stop, proceeding only when all the pedestrians have crossed. You must not pass a vehicle that is stopped at a crosswalk. There may be pedestrians crossing the street that you cannot see. Instead, stop, proceeding only after all pedestrians have crossed. Which of the following recommendations does not promote safe night driving? A. Keep your windshield clean. B. Be aware that tinted windows reduce visibility in the dark. C. Carry a flashlight in your vehicle. D. Look into the headlights of oncoming vehicles. If there is a deep puddle on the road ahead, you should A. Maintain the posted speed to make it through the water. B. Avoid the puddle if possible. C. Shift into neutral as you drive through the water. B. Avoid the puddle if possible. To prevent skidding on slippery surfaces, avoid especially slippery areas, such as ice patches, wet leaves, oil, or deep puddles. The safest surface for driving is a dry, solid surface. Tailgating other drivers, driving too closely to their rear bumper. A. Can frustrate other drivers and make them angry. B. Cannot result in a traffic citation. C. Reduces collisions by preventing being cut off. A. Can frustrate other drivers and make them angry. Tailgating is a common behavior that can lead to aggressive driving, and so it should be avoided. Drivers may face legal consequences for driving unsafely. You are involved in a minor collision at an intersection. There are no injuries and there is very little vehicle damage. You should A. Leave your vehicle in the traffic lane until law enforcement arrives. B. Move your vehicle out of the traffic lane, if possible. C. Not move your vehicle for any reason. B. Move your vehicle out of the traffic lane, if possible. After a collision, if no one has been injured or killed and you can safely do so, you should move your vehicle out of the traffic lane. Which of these statements is true about driving and taking medications? A. Most cold medications can make a person drowsy. B. Over-the-counter medications cannot impair driving ability if taken in the recommended dosages. C. Medications are safe to take at any time, if prescribed by a doctor. A. Most cold medications can make a person drowsy. Remember that all medications, prescription or over-the-counter, are potentially dangerous and could impair your driving. Over-the-counter medicines that you take for colds and allergies can make you drowsy and affect your driving ability. It is your responsibility to know how your medication affects your ability to drive. This sign means A. Curve ahead. B. Roadwork ahead. C. Merging traffic. D. No left turn. A. Curve ahead. Warning signs prepare drivers for upcoming road conditions and hazards and are usually yellow with black markings. This sign alerts drivers to an upcoming curve in the road. This road sign means A. Steep grade ahead. B. The road ahead winds with a series of turns or curves. C. Slippery when wet. C. Slippery when wet. Warning signs provide notice to road users of a situation that might not be readily apparent and are usually yellow with black markings. This sign warns drivers to be careful when driving under wet conditions, as the pavement will become slippery and more difficult to navigate safely. You are driving on a busy street and your vehicle's accelerator sticks open. You should A. Blow your horn. B. Slam on your brakes. C. Turn on your four-way flashers. D. Turn off your ignition, taking care not to engage the steering wheel locking mechanism. D. Turn off your ignition, taking care not to engage the steering wheel locking mechanism. If your vehicle's accelerator sticks open, your vehicle will continue to maintain its speed or accelerate, even if you remove your foot from the gas pedal. Turn off the ignition, using care to move the ignition switch only far enough to stop the engine and not engage the steering wheel locking mechanism. Apply your brakes and move off the road to a safe area. While driving on a roadway with a single broken white centerline. A. You must stay within your lane. B. You may cross the centerline to change lanes. C. You may change lanes only from the left lane. B. You may cross the centerline to change lanes. White lines between lanes indicate that the lanes are traveling in the same direction. Broken white line markings indicate that it is legal to pass another vehicle when safe. The most important thing to remember about speed management and curves is that you must A. Drive at the posted speed limit as you enter the curve, then slow down at the sharpest part of the curve. B. Slow down before you enter the curve. C. Accelerate gently before you enter the curve. D. Drive at the posted speed limit before, throughout, and after the curve. B. Slow down before you enter the curve. The most important thing to remember about driving in curves is that your vehicle's inertia may make it difficult to turn. To maintain control, it is essential that you slow down before entering the curve. How far from the steering wheel should a driver sit? A. 5 inches. B. 7 to 9 inches. C. 10 inches. D. 12 to 15 inches. D. 12 to 15 inches. If your vehicle has an airbag, you should be at least 12 to 15 inches away from the steering wheel. Don't move your seat so far forward that you can't steer properly. Your body gets rid of approximately A. 3 alcoholic drinks an hour. B. 1 alcoholic drink an hour. C. 2 alcoholic drinks an hour. D. None of the above. B. 1 alcoholic drink an hour. The average person's body will process about 1 alcoholic drink in 1 hour. However, many factors play a part in determining how impaired a person will become when consuming alcohol, including the amount of alcohol consumed, how fast it is consumed, and a person's body weight, food intake, and general health. The safest way to turn is by crossing as few lanes of traffic as you can. A. True. B. False. A. True. The safest way to turn is by crossing as few lanes of traffic as possible. When turning, start from the lane closest to where you want to go and turn into the first available legal lane. A driver does not need to allow as much distance when following a motorcycle as when following a car. A. True. B. False. B. False. In dry conditions, motorcycles can stop more quickly than cars. Therefore, a driver behind a motorcycle should allow at least 3 to 4 seconds of following distance so that the motorcyclist has time to maneuver in an emergency. The correct way to use a freeway exit ramp is to A. Slow down before entering the exit ramp. B. Slow down once moving onto the exit ramp. C. Keep your speed constant once in the exit ramp. D. Pass slower traffic in the exit ramp. B. Slow down once moving onto the exit ramp. When using a freeway exit ramp, do not slow down until you move onto the exit ramp. Increasing your vehicle's speed. A. Increases your field of vision. B. Decreases your field of vision. C. Makes it easier to see cross traffic. D. Has no effect on your field of vision. B. Decreases your field of vision. The faster you drive, the smaller your field of vision becomes. As your speed increases and your field of vision decreases, you must be extra alert to potential hazards. When approaching a disabled pedestrian using a guide dog, white cane, or other assistive device, a driver should yield the right of way. A. True. B. False. A. True. A pedestrian with a disability who is utilizing a guide dog, a white cane, a wheelchair, or another assistive device, whether on a sidewalk or roadway, has the right of way and is granted the same rights as any other pedestrian. When approaching a stop sign that is not marked by a crosswalk, drivers should stop their vehicles before entering the intersection. A. True. B. False. A. True. At a stop sign, you must come to a complete stop at the stop line, if there is one. If there is no stop line, you must make a complete stop before entering the crosswalk. If there is no crosswalk, you must stop before entering the intersection. Signs indicating areas of public recreation are A. Orange. B. Red. C. Green. D. Brown. D. Brown. Signs that are brown indicate areas of cultural and historical significance or of public recreation. They can be a helpful resource when traveling in unfamiliar locations. Roads with double solid yellow line markings down the center indicate that passing is A. Allowed from both directions. B. Allowed only from your direction of travel. C. Not allowed from either direction. C. Not allowed from either direction. A double solid yellow line down the center of a road indicates that traffic is moving in opposite directions and that passing is not allowed from either direction. This sign is used to warn drivers A. That the right lane ends and traffic should merge left. B. That the road curves ahead. C. About upcoming intersections. D. About road construction. A. That the right lane ends and traffic should merge left. This sign indicates that the right lane on a multi-lane roadway ends ahead. Traffic in the right lane must merge left. You notice a vehicle defect which may affect the safe operation of your vehicle. You should A. Correct the defect as soon as possible. B. Correct the defect when you can afford it. C. Drive the vehicle at slower speeds. D. Drive normally. A. Correct the defect as soon as possible. Any defect that may affect the safe operation of a vehicle should be corrected as soon as possible. Defects should be corrected before the vehicle is driven. Distracted drivers are at a greater risk of a crash when they are using which of the following? A. CD player. B. Radio. C. Cell phone. D. All of the above. D. All of the above. Using a cell phone, including a hands-free phone, or any kind of audio device, including a radio or CD player, can be a dangerous distraction and contributes to the risk of a crash. When completing an emergency roadside stop, it is not necessary to put on your parking brake. A. True. B. False. B. False. Set your parking brake when making an emergency roadside stop. Turn on your emergency flashers to alert other drivers to your presence. This road sign means A. Flagger ahead. B. Turn left at the intersection. C. Last turn before a toll road. A. Flagger ahead. Orange is the standard color for work zone activity. If you see orange signs, cones, or barrels while driving, stay alert and be prepared for unexpected driving conditions. This sign alerts drivers to an upcoming flagger whose directions should be obeyed by all drivers. A driver can legally pass on the right side of another vehicle? A. If the vehicle is waiting to turn left and there is an available passing lane. B. Even if it means driving off the pavement. C. On a narrow bridge. D. At any time. A. If the vehicle is waiting to turn left and there is an available passing lane. If there is an available passing lane, you may pass on the right of a vehicle or bicycle that is turning left or waiting to turn left. It is also legal to pass on the right when driving on a multi-lane road with 2 or more lanes traveling in the same direction. You may never drive off the pavement or main traveled portion of the road to pass another vehicle. Which of the following are factors commonly contributing to traffic crashes? A. Exceeding the posted speed limit and driving too fast for conditions or circumstances. B. Getting adequate rest and staying alert. C. Scanning the environment and staying focused on the driving task. A. Exceeding the posted speed limit and driving too fast for conditions or circumstances. Driving above the speed limit, driving too far below the speed limit, and driving too fast for conditions are all actions that commonly contribute to traffic accidents. Always drive with the general flow of traffic, within legal speed limits. When you see a flashing yellow light at an intersection, you should A. Yield to all traffic before crossing the intersection. B. Stop, then enter the intersection when it is safe to do so. C. Slow down and cross the intersection carefully. C. Slow down and cross the intersection carefully. A flashing yellow light at an intersection indicates that drivers should slow to a safe and reasonable speed and proceed with caution. Distracted driving is A. Very uncommon. B. Extremely risky behavior. C. Nothing to be concerned about. D. No less safe than driving under any other conditions. B. Extremely risky behavior. Distracted driving is extremely risky behavior that puts not only you and your passengers in danger, but also endangers pedestrians, bicyclists, and other motorists sharing the road. Focused attention on driving helps to prevent crashes.